An old gearbox with high miles can sometimes respond badly to an oil and filter change. It can cause the gearbox to fail outright.
My £2,000 Range Rover has a gearbox problem. I'm hoping a simple gearbox service will save it, because looking online, a gearbox rebuild or replacement for this ZF 5-speed box can cost easily in excess of £3,000, which will definitely make this car, for me, uneconomical to repair, which would be devastating because this particular Range Rover in this spec took me forever to find, and me and my wife both love it.
Now, if you remember back almost a month ago now, I took it into Glenrands, a Land Rover specialist that I'd never been to before, for a full vehicle health check. Now, they managed to find out the issue with the horrible knocking sound that was coming from the front left. It turned out to just be some torque bolts that hadn't been torqued correctly, which was just fantastic news, to be honest. But they did also identify an issue with the gearbox in terms of a leak, and the same with the engine, I believe on the camshaft covers. However, after doing a few more miles between then and now, I do wonder if there's a slightly more developed issue with the gearbox. Now, what seems to happen is a kind of unnerving vibration, or maybe a hum, I should say, coming from below when the car's under load at lower RPM. So here at 35 miles an hour, it might do it around 1500 RPM if I just give it a little bit of throttle. There you go. There's some humming going on. Now, it's a bit unnerving, and alongside that, the car feels slightly slow to respond, slightly underpowered potentially, and also there's a fair bit of what I think is clutch slipping going on. So in fact, sometimes you'll be accelerating and the revs will decrease like now as you get faster, which seems a little bit symptomatic of some slipping going on. So anyway, the plan today is to go to Glenrands and get a bit more of a detailed look at this gearbox and work out exactly how to tackle it, because I wonder if there's any underlying issues that potentially just replacing the sump wouldn't solve. I'm hoping it's not needing a gearbox rebuild. I think the thing is whether there's damage that's been done if it isn't working quite correctly. Anyway, a few more minutes to go to Glenrands down in Hampshire. Car's doing well this morning, managing to average about 18 miles per gallon, which is quite nice. Hopefully we'll see if the guys are a bit camera shy or not. We might be able to meet some of the guys at Glenrands and have a little bit more of a detailed look at what's going on with my L322. Fingers crossed we make it through the day.
I'm Ross, the owner of Glenrands. We've got Joel's L322 with us today, and as I'm sure you all know, it's got the BMW M62 V8 coupled to the ZF HP24 5-speed gearbox, which is actually what brings him here. Joel initially dropped me an email saying he was concerned about the way the gearbox was working. He mentioned there may have been an issue with judder, and he was hearing something strange. So automatically what we'd want to do is we'd want to test drive the car, and it's especially helpful if we're able to do it with the owner who knows all about it, who can recreate the fault. And we took it through a drive cycle, which traditionally would prompt any issues with the gearbox to be apparent. We did hear the whining noise, and we did experience a low-level vibration, and that's something that we need to get into. But the good news is that the car coped under load, and we had no slip, and we didn't experience the dreaded transmission failsafe, which is normally the death knell for one of these. To be belts and braces about it, we brought it back. You should scan them, because essentially what we want to do is we want to eliminate the risk that by doing a gearbox service we're going to cause any additional damage. You guys probably know that an old gearbox with high miles can sometimes respond badly to an oil and filter change. There's many reasons for that, but the basics are your friction properties are changed. The new oil will disrupt debris that's been sitting there for hundreds and thousands of miles, and it can cause the gearbox to fail outright. So we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves and the customer a fighting chance by making sure that we're not going to do a gearbox service and kill his or her gearbox. So we've got the car in, we've scanned it. We've not got the dreaded incorrect ratio fault, which is normally something you can assume straight away the gearbox has got some sort of an internal issue. And I think it's safe to say that we'll go through with a gearbox service on this car today, and hopefully it'll improve things, and it'll just keep the gearbox running well and last a little bit longer. So we've got 7 litres of the ZF Lifeguard. There are cheaper alternatives out there, but honestly we reckon just go ahead and buy the Lifeguard. It is the best stuff for the ZF gearboxes. We've got, interestingly enough, 4 magnets which will be placed in the bottom of the sump, and what that will do is it will collect any metallic debris and stop it from circulating around the rest of the gearbox. And this is definitely the best you can do. You've got the filter, but the really fine stuff will cling to the magnet and it'll be kept away from the rest of the system. We've got your filter here, and what that does is it sits up top in the valve block like so, but you'll see that in a minute when it's fitted. You've got a new sump plug with gasket, also basic but important. We've got 22 new bolts which will secure the sump pan. A sump pan, which some people will say you don't strictly need, but we just want it to be belt and braces about it. And if you're really unlucky, they can warp and they're very hard to seal even with a good gasket. Also looks the part, nice and sturdy. Last but not least, we've got these O-rings which go around the connector sleeve which sits in the side of the gearbox. What that does is it transfers a wiring harness out to the gearbox and into the ECU. There's actually 2 of them, the other one's just packed in a black bag. But don't forget that if you're going to do it. Essentially, guys, this is the third essential part of the process, and very much it's the proof is in the pudding here. I mean, we've done all tests that we can possibly do, but this is going to tell us a lot. We're going to drop the oil out. You guys can see how it looks, and we'll also remove the filter to see what we find.
It's very dark.
It is dark, but to give you a little bit of reassurance, Joel, I've definitely seen worse.
That's always good to hear.
I think we might be in with a shot here, but we'll wait to see if there's any magic silver floating around in the fluid itself. Very basic. He's just shining a light underneath to see if there's any form of metal sediment or filings or obvious debris. Oh wow, Joel, I don't want to jinx it, but that actually looks pretty good, Joel. I would say that history you have is reliable. But that's definitely not the worst gearbox oil I've seen.
Right, well, sump and filter are both off. Both are 90% clean. So it means the car's probably 99% going to receive the new oil well. It's not going to sort of crap its pants because the oil it's already got at the moment is fairly clean. But certainly this is going to be a good move, changing the gearbox oil, and I don't think I'm going to be back here in a couple of weeks needing a gearbox rebuild. Hopefully it will receive it well. My service history indicates that the gearbox was serviced around 10 years ago. However, it does seem probable from the quality of this oil and filter that potentially it's been done since then. Jono gave the car a good wipe down before then fitting the new gearbox filter. So that's all been cleaned up nicely, and the first thing to go on is the gearbox filter, and you can see actually how the filter itself is integrated within this unit, which is quite cool. Never seen anything quite like that. The only thing I'm curious about is because it was so clean and kind of okay to start with, I wonder if it's going to make much of a difference to how it feels. Hopefully it cures some of those weird minor issues that I was experiencing. The guys here seem to think that it will make a really big difference, and it's definitely a good thing to be doing regardless, so I'm happy nonetheless. Again, you can see the old filter here, which is obviously a lot darker in colour, and the old pan, which has got a fair bit of sediment in, but nothing shiny sticking to those magnets, which was quite surprising but also reassuring to see. So now it was time to get my incredibly shiny new sump pan on the bottom of the car with its 22 new bolts before Jono explains the process of refilling the oil.
Use a pump to draw it up, lock off the end so nothing runs out, bang it in the hole. Then at the moment now it says it should take between 3.5 to 4 litres to get to that level. Once it starts trickling out, you just put the plug in lightly, you start the car. You get it warm between 35 to 45 degrees. You run through all the gears, so you're starting off in park, you run through neutral, drive, reverse, and then once the car is at that temperature, you lift it back up while it's still running. We'll just take out the plug again, fill it up until it starts running out, and you just leave it just to trickle. When it starts trickling, you just torque the plug up to spec, and she should be all good. Now just got to put it through the gears for a few seconds just to get all the oil running through. Well, we've done our initial fill until it started running out. We've just run through all the gears now, let it heat up to the temperature recommended, and now we're just going to top her up until she starts coming out of the fill plug. Once that does, we let it trickle to a steady speed, and then we're going to tighten her all up, and the job should be a good one. Just got to tighten it to 35 Newton meters. Clean off the area of all residual oil. That's that.
That's it.
That's it.
So the old girl's gone out for a quick road test. Jono's just going to check that everything's all good. Hopefully, when I drive it home, we'll notice it's shifting a little bit better. Whilst we just wait for the car to hopefully come back in one piece, thought I'd just show you this. This is an AJ V8 L322 with, I think, about 250,000 miles on it, if not more. Apparently it's a regular customer. Maybe you're watching. If so, good on you. That's extremely, extremely cool. And yeah, amazing that these things can go for so long. And I'll just show you something in the locked compound here. Here's my Jag XF waiting to be looked at. I brought this down today knowing I was going to be going home in the Range Rover. This has got a coolant issue. I've just heard the L322 being pulled back in. She's back. Let's catch up with Jono and see if he's found anything untoward. Hopefully not. Still looks dry, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the absolute bare minimum of what it should be, but it's just good engineering practice to take a car out and...
Very good.
Joel, can we call this mission accomplished?
I think that's mission accomplished. Thank you so much. Well, and just like that, the L322, the Range Rover, is done. Really excited to drive this now. I'm not expecting it to be night and day different, but I would like to think it's a bit smoother and it's fixed some of that sort of hesitancy. So anyway, I'll chuck a camera in the car now for the drive home and we can talk about that. But needless to say, really, really impressed with the guys here. I initially booked the car in for a health check, this car, and now they're working on this and my Jaguar, which is great. They invited me to come back down and film this entire process, and they've been nothing but fantastic. So of course I do strongly recommend, if you've got an L322 or any Land Rover, even Jaguar product, do give these guys a ring and get yourself booked in, because they've been fantastic. Anyway, let's jump in the L322, let's get home hopefully and see how she goes. Right, so gearbox, tick. Hopefully she runs a bit better now. I'm going to take it, I mean, to be honest, I never drive this car in anger anyway, so I'm going to take it nice and slow. So on first impressions it feels extremely smooth, and actually I'm yet to hear that weird buzzing humming noise that I had before. No, it's not doing it, so I'm beginning to think maybe it was the gearbox and this has solved it, which would be excellent because that really bothered me driving along. Also, the gearbox doesn't feel too hesitant at all, doesn't seem to be slipping like it was before. Slowly, yeah, building the revs. Yeah, it does seem happier actually. She is going along very happily. I won't say any more until we get onto the faster roads, the 50-60 mile an hour roads, and then I think we do have a 70 mile an hour stretch later, because that was where it was most problematic, this sort of gearbox humming and the hesitation. I sort of felt like you had to drive it in sport mode to actually get it to go anywhere. So we'll wait until we get to there to really finally conclude if this has done a good job or not. Okay, so we're about to go on a faster bit of road. Actually, we're going uphill as well, and this is where the car used to struggle quite a lot with the gearbox. Seems smooth, doesn't seem to be slipping. Got a 40 mile an hour limit now, so let's see, or 50 mile an hour limit. Yeah, and are we getting any? Don't think
we're getting that noise. I'm going to put it on cruise control at 50. And if we go up this hill, it would definitely normally do a little vzz. I can maybe hear the very faintest hum, but I might just be imagining it. But either way, I'm pretty sure it's basically gone, if not extremely reduced. That's a really nice result, actually. And just the thing just feels quite a lot smoother, and dare I say it, just a bit happier and more compliant. I certainly don't feel the need to go into sport, which I was very much doing all the time when I was driving it before, as it seems to have enough grunt now in drive, which is really good. Yeah, very, very happy, and I'm sure the saga will continue with this Range Rover. I'm now going to start making some big plans for this car, because I wanted to know that it was dependable first before doing anything crazy, but I have got some, well, couple of crazy ideas for this car, which now I'm going to get planning. So do make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. About 70% of you that watch the channel are not subscribed. If you could subscribe, that'd be amazing. But more importantly, give this video a thumbs up and comment below. That really helps with all the algorithm and stuff like that. And like I say, do go and check out Glenrands. They've been really, really good to me, and you can help me out by helping them out. So please do go ahead and check them out. I'll leave the link in the description. Thank you all so much for watching. Very happy boy indeed. I'll see you in the next one very, very soon.